Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, although the knees aren't quite that good anymore.
Not what they once were. Welcome, this is your debut on Grumpy's.
It is. I am so pleased. I was so excited when I got the call before Christmas. Connor hadn't even got the whole sentence out before I was going, yes, definitely, I'm in.
You're in. Mark is with us as well. Mark B, good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Mark. Good morning, Lisa. My knees
Morning,
aren't
Mark.
feeling too good in this cold weather.
No, I know, the cold is not good when you get a bit older, is it,
It's
Mark?
not good.
That's for sure. Lovely to have you on the
I
programme.
think we need to moan about the weather forecast today, I think.
Poor old Lizzie, I give her some stick when she does the weather, and poor old Kate as well, bless them. Anyway, good to have you both on the show today. Nothing too serious, as we know. But Lisa, I'm going to start with you because I know you want to talk about homeschooling. I got corrected the other day from someone to tell me it's actually remote learning, we should call it.
Actually, I think it should just be called emergency schooling or torture, is my perfectly honest feeling on it. And it's... You know, I get why the schools are closed, but the thing that really grates me is the effect that it has on my house. You know I am not an English teacher. I don't know I didn't know what parenthesis was until the first lockdown. I didn't know about modal verbs. I didn't know about fronted adverbials. I now know all about those things.
Fronted adverbials, okay.
Do you know, pretty much with all of this, it's about putting your punctuation in your sentences or putting certain words at the front of a sentence that you might use at the end of a sentence. It's really quite simple, but, you know, I didn't need to know about it. I'm not a linguistics professor. I don't need to know these things. However, what I have an issue with is the effect that the homeschooling has on my house. First of all, I'm used to being here on my own during the day.
Okay, yep.
You know, so having been jammed in with everybody for like 9 months is just torture on its own anyway. I love my family, but we need our time apart. But I have never known my children to eat so much food. There are bits all over the floor constantly, and it's not just from where they're walking in and out of the garden because they go outside to have a bit of fresh air. So there's bits of grass and bits of mud that go through the kitchen. There's books everywhere, there's bits of paper that they've cut up that they don't seem to be able to pick up. And then if they do manage to prise themselves away from the fridge, I then find crisp wrappers on the floor. I find the odd plate tucked up against the edge of the sideboard. I mean, I haven't brought them up like that. I don't know where these monkey skills have come from.
Oh dear, you are taking me back to when Leslie's two boys and their stepdad were growing up, and they would want to take food up into their bedrooms, and and it would, you know, I'd go up there and I said, "What have you got in there?" And they'd take a curry up there in their bedroom and things like that, you know, and oh dear, or a Sunday dinner, no, left over from the day before, no.
No, thankfully we're not quite at that stage. They're 10 and 12.
Oh, you got plenty of time for that to happen then.
Yeah, that's something to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, they don't act like that at school, do they?
No. I saw a perfect thing the other day. Somebody had put one of these memes up saying, "I've told my children to use their school stomach this week." You know, you have your indoor voice, your outdoor voice. You need your home stomach and your school stomach. Use your school stomach during the day. You only get one snack in the morning. That's all you need when you're living here, when you're working from home. You know, I don't walk around constantly dragging the fridge behind me or opening up the food cupboard, which is what they seem to be doing. But I mean, I must say, I'm very lucky because I've actually only got one at home now, homeschooling. During the first lockdown, my youngest was diagnosed with dyslexia. So the amazing school team over at Bucklesham Primary School, they've got her in school. She's considered educationally vulnerable. So it is much easier with just one. However, she's 12. She's at high school, so I haven't got a clue what the work is that she's doing. But it's the attitude that comes with it.
Dear. Mark, you haven't got to worry about this?
I haven't really, but I tell you what, it's hats off to teachers, isn't it? Who
It is.
do this all the time. And, you know, and I think they're under tremendous pressure at the moment. And I think when you think it's a difficult job anyway, I couldn't do it. I don't think I could have the patience to do it. It's bad enough keeping counsellors in line, let alone children. And counsellors can be worse, you know. But I was just going to ask, are you sort of tuning into things like Joe Wicks and Brian Cox now, who's doing a lot of stuff, isn't he? And there's some good resource there now, isn't there?
There's some amazing stuff that has been put out there, and the BBC have stepped up. Ipswich Town are doing PE lessons as well. There's so much more out there. I'm very lucky that the one who is at home is very studious. So she's very organised, and she gets herself sorted in the morning. She sets but see there again, I've lost my dining room. She's got got the dining room set up as her classroom. So, sitting down together to have meals is a thing of the past at the moment. So she's got herself organised, and the school are providing more than enough work, which is brilliant. Keep her occupied. Yeah. But again, she has to stop every 10 minutes for a food break and have a quick flick through the radio, and the iPlayer is taking a back.
I don't think I could work at home. I don't think I could work at home. We've got the facility now for me to broadcast from home if I need to, but someone would still have to come in here and work the controls. So for the moment, I come in here. I couldn't work from home. I'd want to, about 9:45, I'd be watching Frasier. I'd forget about the last quarter of an hour of the programme. I'd be watching Frasier or something like that, or Lorraine, or seeing what Piers Morgan's up to on Good Morning Britain when I should be hosting the show. And of course the fridge. There are a lot of distractions there.
Hello?
Yep, hello?
Oh, sorry, you cut out then. It's certainly cut into my televisual
I thought I got
pleasure.
Brian on the line then with a, huh?
What? I certainly cut into my televisual pleasure. I mean, there's no Friends going on.
Right, okay.
That kind of thing. So maybe it's making me more disciplined. Maybe that's going to be the upside of this.
Let's bring in another voice, because Matt Marvel, who's one of the production team here on Mark Murphy at Breakfast, we heard a little bit of audio earlier this week. He recorded it with his son, with the two of them trying to work together on the schoolwork.
Yeah.
How's it going now?
Well, not brilliantly. Yesterday, I was trying to help him with science, and I'd laid down on the sofa. So this is about 2:00 in the afternoon, and I found myself drifting off to sleep with my son asking me questions, and he kept scattergun questions at me, and I'm like, yes, I'm sure that's correct. And the other thing is, this morning I looked at the class kind of app that we have, and his teachers asked him to redo something, and this is just the worst nightmare. To now go back and redo work that we did yesterday, that's just to get him to do that, it's going to be horrible.
We're doing homeschooling.
Yeah, good luck with that one. Good luck with that. Sorry, we can hear you, James Hazel. Mics are open. So it's good. It's good practice for parent-child relations. Then.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a stress you don't need, isn't it? Because you don't really need to have this battle at home all the time. Because you've become a teacher, and that's not a good thing. I don't think, but. We're getting there.
You've got to do your best.
We've got to do it.
You've got to do your best.
Yeah.
And Lisa, that's all you can do is do your best.
Absolutely. And I mean, in the first lockdown, when they were first out of school, we were very strict, but it got to a point where it just wasn't worth the arguments. So I cut it down to, you will do your English work and you will do your maths work, the science, the topic, all these other lovely little art things that were coming through. They just got pushed to one side. I thought if they can do the fundamentals, and then, by then it was the summer, so they'd disappear off out in the garden for the rest of the day. So I would at least get some relief from it, whereas at the moment, you can't go anywhere, can you?
With us, Lisa and Mark, Lisa Hardy and Mark B, are grumpies on the show today. Lisa's already feeling a whole lot better for getting the homeschooling, remote learning stuff off her chest. Charlotte, who's our assistant editor, has just come in. She says, I'm with you, sister. I'm absolutely with you, she says, on that one as well. Balancing everything like a lot of people. Mark, you want to talk about Christmas decorations?
Yeah, vexed question of not only when you take them down, but when you put them up as well, really. But I think it's because this year we've being encouraged to keep them up until the 2nd of February, up until Candlemas. And I quite like the idea of this. I think the idea of extending Christmas, which in traditional times was done. I think when we were a society where people worked on the land and it was as frozen and cold as it is now. It was down tools, and you celebrated not only from the 12 days of Christmas, from sort of New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve onwards, right up until the 2nd of February. But you imagine having the in-laws around all that time, and all the eggnog you could get through in that time, really, isn't it? But it's when do you take these Christmas decorations down? Really, is the issue, because there's always this big thing about, is it unlucky to have them up after the 5th of January, so that they're done before 12th night and all of that. But the other thing is that I had a neighbour once who used to have them up. He used to have these wonderful Christmas lights, his house decorated and everything, and they were all up before Halloween in October.
Gosh.
He'd have them all down on Boxing Day, which, when you think, that's the Feast of Stephen, King Wenceslas wouldn't get a look in on his Boxing Day. So they were all sort of taken down. I always thought that was quite sad, really, because that's only the second day of Christmas, for goodness sake, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So it's when do you do it, really? And I remember once years ago walking into a certain garden centre who they have their headquarters in Wroxham. We'll go no further than that. One August bank holiday, it was a sweltering hot day, and the poor staff were putting up the Santa's grotto, and there was Christmas decorations everywhere, and it just felt so wrong, really. So it's just this whole issue of, when do we put them up? When should we put them down?
Yeah,
really?
we never seem to get the balance quite right, I don't think, when it comes to the start of Christmas and the end of Christmas. It does seem to swing and vary year after year. What I did notice and have noticed in recent years is the lack of Christmas cheer in many of our shops and stores. And I remember as a child going shopping, and it was a real wonderland. You would go in and there'd be Christmas trees and there'd be events going on in the stores. And I know money's tight for an awful lot of them, but this year, going into some of the big stores in Ipswich, it wasn't that Christmassy, actually. It was I felt quite disappointed in a way.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I favour doing it a bit later. I mean, for me, mid-December, and I try and keep one thing up until the 2nd of February as a sort of nod to this, really, because I think there's an idea that we ought to have Christmas starting a bit later and then finishing a bit later as well.
Yeah,
so it gets us over these
time,
awful months.
It's a gloomy time of the year.
January, February can be miserable.
Yeah. How do you balance it with the kids then, Lisa?
Well, as soon as the Advent calendar comes out on the 1st of December, we've lost the youngest one. If it doesn't involve elves in stripy socks or candy canes or Christmas fairies, then she's not interested in it. I don't even know how the teachers teach her at school for that last month. But generally, our tree will go up usually the second weekend of the month, maybe a little bit later, and it tends to go down about the 2nd or 3rd of January. Very much depends on work, to be honest with you, and when the weekends fall. Because those of you who don't know me, I'm only just on 5 foot tall, so trying to get boxes up a ladder and into a loft is quite tricky for me. So I need to have my big gangly husband there to get the stuff up in the loft. So if he's at work, then they have to come down over the weekend.
What about this Scandinavian hygge, it's called, where they sort of hunker down? Their winters are much harsher than ours. They hunker down. It's dark. It's cold there, and they get the fluffy throws out, and they get the candles out, and they light the fire, and there is a little bit of that amongst the Christmas stuff that we have, but as soon as Christmas is over, it's back up in the loft. Maybe we should think about a little bit of hygge around this time of year.
I would vote for that, wouldn't you? And I think next to that, hibernation. But that is the closest we get to hibernation, really, isn't it? The whole hygge thing. Somebody bought me a book on that over Christmas, and the trouble is, I'm now back into the Christmas. I haven't had time to read the blimmin' thing, and it would be nice to be able to hunker down, as you say. Close the curtains, get the wood burner going, candles, all that, and maybe get the eggnog out again. I don't know. I'm still eating all the Christmas cake and all the stuff. The New Year diet hasn't kicked in yet at all, really.
Yes, we normally bring excess stuff in here for our colleagues to eat, but we're not allowed to at the moment because of coronavirus.
When you're working from home, you see, you're absolutely jiggered, really, But the other thing, of course, is the Christmas lights. Every year, I've actually tangled them up as I was putting them away, let alone next November.
You'll tell yourself off. Come December, you'll tell yourself off. You'll say, why didn't I put them away properly?
Mark, I've got the perfect solution to this.
Yeah.
So, when we moved house, which was not last November, the November before, and we got our first lot of Christmas lights out, ready to decorate the house. They were in a terrible tangle, so I spent ages collecting bits of boxes and old tubes from the kitchen roll and that kind of thing. And my husband despairs of me, but I spend about an hour at the end of putting away the Christmas decorations, and I wrap my lights around those tubes. And it was an absolute revelation this year when we could just pull them out. The thing I've now got to try and work out is, those lovely beads, the strings of beads that you get. I've now got to work out how to stop those from getting tangled.
Well, there was the woman in the paper the other day who actually cling films her whole tree. So the tree stands there, and she wraps it with cling film, and they just wheel it out and leave it in the garage. And then come November, December later this year, they'll wheel it all out and just take off the cling film, and it'll all be ready to go, just as it was left last time, which is, just one way of doing it. I want to bring in Glenda, who's on the line to us from Kessingland. Good morning, Glenda.
Hello.
Good morning. Tell us about this Christmas tree.
Well, we've got one in St Edmund's Crescent, which the way, like used to be the Waverley Council.
East Suffolk. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is still alight, and I think that's brilliant.
Oh, so the council have put a tree up and it's still alight?
Yeah, and they still left the lights on and everything.
Blimey.
Well, that's good news, isn't it? Let's hope as a result of you mentioning this, it doesn't get switched off. But
I look at my back bedroom window, and I see it still light in the during the night, and I think it's lovely. Why not? I wish I'd kept mine all up now.
Right, so that's sitting there and that's lighting up the life. Yeah.
Yeah, all the twinkly lights are what makes Christmas for me. I think when you drive around everywhere and you see all these lovely twinkly lights, I think it's beautiful. And there were some stunning lights around. Ipswich. There's some stunning lights around Ipswich this year.
Yeah, all that hard work.
Do you think people? Yeah. Do you think people made more of an effort this year? I get the feeling they did because of the way things are.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did, and I think why not leave them up? Just let people look. We trimmed up really early and we took them down, but I think I'd like to left them up now.
Well, at least you got the council one there, Glenda, unless they hear you today and come and switch it off.
Oh, no.
Insurance renewals, Mark.
Yeah, I've been trying to sort out my finances, looking for a good deal and all that.
Yep.
And it's this whole thing that there is no reward in loyalty at all, really, when you want to stay with a particular company, because they just put it up every year. So you look at all these other wonderful possibilities on websites and so forth that we can't mention on the BBC, but you know what I mean. And they come up with these most wonderful deals. So you then go back to the people that you were originally with, and suddenly from this very deep sack, they can pull out these wonderful deals. That you think, well, why weren't they on offer in the first place? Why weren't you rewarding my loyalty to you? And instead, I'm having to go and trawl through all these things when suddenly you can be so very generous, really. And I find that very annoying. Very annoying when you go through all that.
Lisa, I can hear you agreeing.
Well, it's the same with energy providers. We're in a point where we need to change our energy provider, and it's ridiculous the difference in what you can get as a new customer to somewhere. And being part of the Business Women's Network, we always promote value to existing clients. But it seems that these massive businesses just have forgotten about loyalty. And if we keep paying you our money, the little things that you can do in kindness for us.
There are rules and regulations surrounding all of this, and I seem to remember some. It's hard to tell when now. The world has kind of morphed into a different planet, hasn't it, over the last 10 months? There was talk about sort of making sure that this kind of thing couldn't happen in the future. I don't know where we are with that now, but that they were suggesting that companies must give you the best deal, which are always banging on about this, Mark. So there's a lot of people who've been raising this as an issue for quite some time now.
But it doesn't seem to have got anywhere, really, does it? Because I find, that you get the renewal and it's almost as if the generosity you got the year before, you then pay for when it then comes the following year when it's then up for renewal. And I think that there's just not any natural justice in that at all, really. I would rather, and as Lisa was saying, that there's got to be something about the quality of maintaining a good, loyal membership and customer base that you would want to promote, really. And that doesn't seem to be there with certainly insurance companies and energy providers and all
we rolled over our house insurance once, and then it came through and it was like, what? How much? And of course, we just expected it to be pretty similar to the year before. But as you say, it seemed as if we were then paying for the discount that we'd had the year before.
Exactly.
And people are attracted by a discount as well. As soon as somebody advertises a discount, you seem to capture people's attention. We've got very good friends who looked at having their kitchen replaced. This was 2 or 3 years ago. And the man came round and gave them an absolutely ridiculous price. So when they started to say no, I can do a bit of a discount on this and I can do a bit of a discount on that, they ended up getting their kitchen nearly £5,000 cheaper than the original quote that they gave them. Well, that's just ridiculous.
I always worry
you
about...
sometimes wonder if that was the starting point, really, don't you? But they sort of, built all the other stuff in.
I always worry about that when I buy a car as well. If you go and buy a suit in a department store, the price is 50 quid or whatever it is. You have to tell I haven't bought one for a while. But when you go and buy a car, then it should just be, this is the price of the car. But then depending on how good a negotiator, you can get some off, you can get mats thrown, you get all these kind of extras thrown in. Just sell me the car at the proper price.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel around Ipswich we have large numbers of discount stores, cheap stores. We can do this a bit cheaper. This is a bargain store. And it just seems that you actually don't always save an awful lot of money, because you go up to that shop for one thing and you come out with 5 others because it's cheap, and you end up spending twice as much as you probably would have done
well, it
on
works,
the one item if you'd have ordered it online.
It works. I'm going to move on.
That's what my old grandfather used to say. He used to say, "That's how they get you, boy."
Yeah,
that's how they get you.
It is indeed. Let's do this one, Lisa. Why is it that men only half fix things? Surely not.
Well, so here we go. So, as I said, we moved house a little while ago, and during the first lockdown, I actually said to my husband, who is a painter and decorator, I'd like to point out,
okay.
I said to him, look, this house still feels like it's somebody else's. I feel like I'm in a holiday home. We need to start getting some colour and some of our own sort of influence on this house. Oh, okay, he said, that'd be lovely. So, to be fair, for the first time in our 14 years of being married, I didn't actually have to beg him to get started on the work. But it's the kind of the half measures, the paint job is amazing. But when I said to him, why have we left these nails in the wall that you've painted over? Well, it's to put the picture back. Well, I don't want to put the picture back there. Well, that's where it was before. But that's not the point. Wow.
Well, I'm going to defend your husband. I'm going to defend your husband on that. That's just logic. That's where the nail is. That's where the nail will be. It's probably there for a reason.
Well, if we'd have put the nails in the first place, Mark, I probably would agree with you. But these are nails that were still in the walls from the old people who had their lounge set up and dining room set up in a completely different way, and pictures and things that our pictures don't fit where their nails were.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So, having had this conversation with him... Sorry, Mark.
I was going to say, my mother had a similar thing. She had somebody come round, paint her living room. He took all the nails out. When he'd gone, she couldn't remember where anything had to go back up. So it was an absolute nightmare.
Well, and it's little things like the dining room is done now. That's brilliant. But I've got a pile of things that still need to go back up. That, the dining room was finished beginning of December, and I've still got these pile of things to go back up on the wall. So whether this is just a statement about, well, you made me take the holes, maybe take the nails out, I'm not putting any more back in, I'm not entirely sure. Not that I see the dining room, because it's now my daughter's classroom anyway.
Yes,
so.
As you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Oh, dear. It is difficult. I mean, this is, men and women are different, aren't they? And we see things differently. Some some things Leslie will say to me, and she's pretty good actually. She doesn't, give me much grief about things, but I know that there are things that I could do and should do. But I think, well, I'll get round to it eventually. What's the rush? It's fine. The main bit is done. We'll get there eventually.
They don't.
The trouble is, Mark. Sorry. Go on. Yeah.
No, I don't think men see. They don't have the same eyes as us. You don't have the same eyes as us. I got to a point in our old house where I had to almost force one of his work colleagues to come round and give me a price for our hall, which it looked like we'd got a grey border up through the middle of the wall, and it was actually where the kids were small and used to run their hands up the wall as they went up the stairs. And I had to get his friend to come around and give me a quote to encourage him to actually get it done.
But do you find
anymore?
do you find, Lisa, that if you're in that trade and your husband may have some sympathy with your husband, the last thing he does when he's done that in other people's houses is then when he comes home to have to then do it in his own house? Is there a sense in which he's
there will
when
be.
he gets home, that's the last thing he wants to do?
I used to be a mechanic, and to fix my own car or someone else's car when I'd been doing it for a whole day, can you just do this, they would say, can you just do that, can you just adjust this? And it's the last thing you want to do, and any mechanic will tell you that their cars are pretty ropey because you know just how far you can push them before you actually have to do something to them.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he is waiting for a haircut at the moment because, I have
we
got...
all are. We all are.
Oh, well, see, that's what I do. And to be fair, I don't want to cut hair when I come home after normally having a day in the salon. I've got all the stuff here. I just can't be bothered to cut it, to be honest.
There you go.
I think you've answered your own question there.
There you go.
Look, I've got one comment I'm going to finish up with now. This is from Glenda in Stowmarket. She says, I love your grumpy people today. I know I'd get on well with them. Just heard the lady ring in to say that the council had put the tree up at Kessingland and had left the lights on where she lives. The street light by my house has been out of action now for 5 weeks and they still haven't fixed it. I'm going to get some tinsel and wrap round it now. It might get priority as a Christmas decoration. Give it a try, Glenda. You never know. You never know.
The trouble is, Mark, it might then get switched off on the 2nd of February, but...
that is an issue. It really is. Mark B, Lisa Hardy, thank you very much. Thank you for being our grumpies today.